Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar presentation sponsored by the Disability Organizing Network, a program of California Foundations for Independent Living Centers. Today we are going to be talking about people with disabilities and our right to vote. So first, for today's presenters, we're going to start with Fred Nisen. Fred Nisen is from Disability Rights California, where he is the supervising attorney for voting rights. DRC is California's federally mandated protection and advocacy system for people with disabilities. Mr. Nisen has worked for DRC for the last 16 years. For the past 9 years, Mr. Nisen has been working on voting issues for DRC. He currently oversees DRC's Voting Rights Unit. For example, he oversees DRC's Election Day Hotline, trains voters with disabilities, and county election officials on voting accessibility issues. After that, I will be speaking. I am Dolores Tejada. I'm a queer, fat, brown, crip Latina who has been doing disability organizing for over 7 years now. I have worked on accessible online voter registration as a part of the Disability Organizing Network, empowering youth with disabilities to use accessible voting machines in Alameda County in collaboration with the Registrar of Voters, and I am currently leading our second Get Out the Vote campaign for community resources for independent living. As a daughter of immigrants who assisted my parents in voting from an early age, I'm passionate about marginalized communities using our collective power to create change through voting. So with that in mind, we're going to hand it over to Fred to tell us more about what the landscape of people with disabilities voting means and what our rights are. Fred, go ahead and take it away.
Yes, this is Fred Nisen from Disability Rights California. I'm using the speech-to-speech service. This is California Relay CA 9019F. Mr. Nisen has asked me to explain how speech-to-speech works. Okay, this is a speech-to-speech.
This is the...
One moment. Okay, the operator will be revoicing everything I am saying. Okay, go ahead. Thank you for asking me. To speak today. As Dolores said. The Disability Rights California has a disability voting rights unit, which does many functions. But the most important thing is education of people with disabilities and others have the right of the rights of people with disabilities with disabilities to vote.
Next slide.
Oh, next slide.
Over 5.9 million.
There are over 5.9 million
eligible voters with disabilities.
eligible voters with disabilities
California.
in California.
Therefore,
Therefore,
we make up
we make up
a baby voting block.
a pretty big block.
Next slide.
Next slide.
As I explained this before,
As I have explained this before,
when people think of people with disabilities,
when people think of people with disabilities,
they think of people
they think of people
using a wheelchair
using a wheelchair
or a cane
or a cane
or some other device.
or some other device.
But all these types of people with disabilities,
There are millions of people with disabilities.
no,
No, I'm sorry, one more time, please.
there are many types
There are many types of disabilities.
that have mobility,
Some have mobility,
vision,
some have vision,
disabilities,
there are disabilities
at various degrees,
at various degrees,
and hearing loss
there's hearing loss
at various degrees,
at various degrees,
and deafness,
and deafness,
and people with mental health disabilities,
and there are people with mental health disabilities,
and people with disabilities.
and people with intellectual and development disabilities,
And they all have the right
and they all have the right.
to life,
Next slide.
private,
A private and independent ballot.
we guarantee,
We can guarantee which is guaranteed
under the California
under the
Constitution.
the California Constitution.
And I will be coming back to the board a lot.
I come back to this a lot.
Next slide.
Next slide.
The
The Help American Vote Act
was adopted in 2002.
was adopted in 2002. After the 2000 election? The only requires requiring that all persons requires that all
polling sites?
Yes. Be accessible. And the voting systems allow for independent and private voting. Oh, next slide. In California, every voting place is required to have one accessible voting system that allows the person with a disability to vote privately and independently using a touch screen or audio. Next slide. There must be a something at that level.
Clear path of travel.
For all places. Under the America Vote Act and the ADA. Next slide. there should be one place. Next slide. Every
Election day.
Every election day. 1 minute, please.
We have a
Hotline.
And probably tell
As you can probably tell
from
from
my presentation,
my presentation,
the biggest
no, the biggest
problem that we hear about
the biggest problem that we hear about
is
is a lot of accessible voting system that work.
Here are some other examples.
Here is an example.
Here are other examples.
Here are examples
Of other barriers
of other barriers
that we've heard about.
that we hear about.
No accessible parking.
No accessible parking.
Accessible entrances.
Accessible entrances
That are blocked.
that are blocked.
And something on the ground or something on the stairs.
And something on the ground or something protruding in the path of travel.
I'm going to assume
I'm going to assume
because you all in the network,
because you all are in the
field,
in the field,
but you know conservatorship
that you know what conservatorship
is.
is.
Never was supposed to
Never was supposed to
make something about
making about certain abilities an assumption
about
about a person's ability to vote based on their disability. And even if they have a disability, even if they have a
Conservator?
yes,
the problem lies
problem lies
is that 184
that one may
184 184
when a court when a court wants a conservatorship approves a conservatorship. There are 7 rights
that they can take away.
that they can take away.
And one of them is voting.
And one of them is voting.
There was a couple more
There is a couple
that work.
There were
a couple more.
There are a couple of
memories that
because of some
bad
bad
judges
judges
that was taking away every right, including voting. A new law was passed. Next slide. SB 589 it requires that every person has the right to vote unless they cannot communicate that they want to vote without reasonable doubt. With or without reasonable accommodations. So what a person needs to do let me back up. The most important part if there is somebody on a conservatorship, that is not allowed to vote.
That is not allowed to vote.
They can write a letter to the court.
They can write a letter to
The court.
the court
And request that life be reinstated.
and request that they can be reinstated.
Request that life be reinstated.
I'm sorry. Request that right be reinstated.
In time for them to register
In time for them to register.
by October 24th.
By
October
October
24th.
24th, which is the deadline.
This is the biggest change in the law.
This is a
Big
big
change in the law.
change
In the law.
in the law. This is a big change in the law.
Let me never be what
Let me
know if you have any what.
let me know if you have any questions.
Great, thank you so much. We are going to go to questions now. I have a question for Fred, and this is something that we didn't get a chance to cover, but I'm wondering if you have some insight. I was having a conversation with someone, and they said that a polling place worker is allowed to offer a voting machine to someone who they perceive has a disability. My understanding is that polling place workers either have to uniformly ask everyone if they wanted to use the accessible voting machine, or not ask anyone, so that it would put the responsibility of asking for the voting machine on the individual voter. And my assumption was the second one, that the individual voter had to ask for the voting machine because of legal reasons with the presumption of disability. If a polling place worker presumed disability and asks somebody if they wanted to use the accessible machine. Do you know what the case may be in that situation?
Well, let me back up and say what my answer would be.
And say what my answer would be.
Is that they should ask everybody
Is that they should ask everybody
if they want to use it.
if they want to use it.
That is what I say. Needs to happen.
That is what I think needs to happen.
And the vote as people, I don't think.
One more time.
I think it's okay outside of that.
And outside of that,
If they ask somebody if they want to if they ask somebody
is they should ask somebody
if they need the machine,
if they need the machine
rather than not,
rather than not,
because the person might not know it's available.
because the person might not know it's available.
Whatever advocating for.
This is what I've been advocating for.
Is to ask everybody.
Is to ask everybody.
That way you have everybody that might need it.
That way everybody that might need it has access. And
the poll workers will be more inclined to set it up.
Will be more than happy to set it up. Would be more inclined to set it up. If everybody used it. More than one person.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to just talk about some outreach opportunities. I appreciate everyone joining this call. And I did want to speak a little bit about what it means now that we know people with disabilities have the right to a private and independent vote, and we learned a little bit more about what the new laws under conservatorship look like. We have some opportunities to reach out to other organizations that we may work with, or even within our organization, to promote the power that people with disabilities now have. I believe that voting is a path towards independence. It allows the individual to express their independent and individual advocacy skills through the process of registering to vote and the act of voting. It allows the individual with a disability to make decisions for themselves and to be vocal in their community through their power of voting. That is why I'm someone who firmly believes that making sure people with disabilities vote is a crucial element to our movement. So some other steps that we can do is to contact other local disability-related organizations, and there's a list on the slide which will be available afterwards. And so also think about what other work you can do in terms of reaching out to people and discussing with organizations about what they can do to educate their population that they serve as well. And most importantly, just to use your power to vote. So I wanted to go through my piece of outreach strategies. So think about where you find people with disabilities in your community and how to engage them in voting. And some of the barriers that I've seen with the process of voting is community, is some of the barriers that Fred was talking about earlier. But also, in order to get people with disabilities engaged in voting, it's important to promote it as a way to build community. To destigmatize the fear of voting is another task that we have as people who work with people with disabilities or who have disabilities ourselves. Destigmatizing the fear of voting could mean helping someone travel to their polling place ahead of the polling date so they know where it is, or learning how to use an accessible voting machine and asking and advocating on how to use the accessible voting machine so they are prepared. The other thing that I would really suggest is to look at voting and elevate voting as a priority within your organizations, your community, or just yourself as an individual. If you make voting a priority and you emphasize that in the work that you do, that means you can reach more people. Methods of access, so there's obviously two methods to vote. We should be promoting both because disability means that we need multiple options and ways of doing it. So for some folks, voting by mail is the best way for them to vote, and that is awesome. And using the accessible polling booth is also another way to vote. So last, we do not have any more time for questions. If there are questions, though, please feel free to email me or follow up. And I just wanted to thank everyone for being on this call today. Thank you so much and have a great day.